Okay, let's just get right to it. What if I told you that everything you're seeing and hearing right now isn't really real? That it's more like a movie, carefully edited by your own brain? Sounds crazy, right? But the truth is, the reality you experience is way more of a construction than you could possibly imagine.
I know, it's a wild statement, but this is what a lot of top neuroscientists are saying. They call it a controlled hallucination. See, your brain isn't some passive camera just recording what's out there. No way. It's actively generating your reality. It's using bits of sensory data, a little bit of memory, and this is the key part, it's making predictions.
So here's the big question for today. Are your eyes a perfect camera, just capturing everything as it is? Or is your brain more like a movie director, picking and choosing what makes the final cut? We're about to pull back the curtain on all the invisible edits your brain is making every single second. So get ready. We're going to look at the director's cut of your reality. All right, so first things first, what's the number one job of any good editor? It's cutting out the junk, right? The unnecessary noise. Well, your brain is an absolute master at this. It's constantly filtering a massive flood of information just to keep you focused and, honestly, to keep you sane. And this whole process kicks off with something called sensory adaptation. Now, this isn't a glitch in the system. Sensory adaptation is totally a feature, not a bug. Your brain basically looks at all the constant, unchanging stuff around you and goes, you know what, this isn't worth the energy. It's a super smart efficiency move. It helps you focus on what's new and what's changing. You know, the stuff that might actually be important for, say, not getting eaten. I mean, just think about it for a second. Right now, are you feeling the clothes on your skin? Probably not until I mentioned it. What about the quiet hum of your fridge or your computer? It's there, but you've tuned it out. And the craziest one? Your own nose. It is always in your field of view, but your brain just deletes it. It's the first, most basic edit your brain makes, and it's happening all the time. Okay, so that's the automatic stuff. Let's get to the next layer of editing, selective attention. Think of it this way. If sensory adaptation is the auto filter, then attention is you manually pointing the camera. It's your focus. It's the reason you can zero in on one conversation in a super loud room. You've probably heard of it as the cocktail party effect.
Yeah, early researchers pictured this as a kind of bottleneck. There's just way too much information pouring in from your senses at all times. It's an overload. So your attention acts like a bouncer at a club, deciding who gets in for the VIP treatment, the higher level processing, and who has to wait outside. Honestly, without this gatekeeper, you would be completely and utterly overwhelmed.
But what happens when that bouncer, your attention, is so focused on one thing that it misses something huge walking right past? This is where the brain's editing suite gets really, really dramatic.
There's a name for this, and it's called inattentional blindness. And it proves something pretty fundamental. Just looking at something isn't the same as actually seeing it. Your eyes can be pointed right at an object, the light can hit your retina, but if your attention is elsewhere, for all intents and purposes in your reality, that object might as well be invisible. So just how powerful is this effect? Well, check out this number, 50%. What on earth could 50% of people completely fail to see? This comes from the legendary invisible gorilla experiment. Seriously, you have to hear this. Researchers asked people to watch a video and just count how many times a team in white passed a basketball. Simple, right? But while they were counting, a person in a full-on gorilla costume walks into the middle of the game, thumps its chest, and walks away. And the result? About half of the people completely missed it. They never saw the gorilla. Their focus literally created a blind spot big enough to hide a gorilla. Now, it's easy to mix this up with something similar called change blindness, so let's clear it up. Inattentional blindness, that's the gorilla one, is when you miss something new that you weren't expecting. Change blindness is when you miss a change in something that was already there. Like, when you're watching a movie and an actor's shirt magically changes color between shots. Both of these just go to show how little of the world we're actually taking in at any given moment. Okay, here's another mind bender for you. The waterfall illusion. It's a perfect example of your brain's active editing. So if you stare at a waterfall for like a minute, the little neurons in your brain that detect downward motion get tired out, they get fatigued. Then when you look over at the stationary rocks next to it, the other neurons, the ones that detect upward motion, are suddenly way more active by comparison. And bam, the rocks look like they're moving up. Your brain is literally inventing motion that doesn't exist. Okay, so up to this point, we've seen how your brain is a ruthless editor, deleting and ignoring stuff left and right. But a director doesn't just cut scenes, right? They also have to create them. And your brain does the same thing. It actively invents stuff to make sure your reality looks smooth and makes sense. And that brings us to a super weird fact about your own body. Did you know you have a hole in the vision of each eye? I'm serious, a spot where you are 100% blind? So why don't you see two big black blobs floating around everywhere? Well, this hole is called the physiological blind spot. It's the exact point on your retina where your optic nerve, the big table of nerves, plugs into the back of your eye. And because it's just a bunch of wires, there are no light-detecting cells there. No rods, no cones, nothing. So it literally can't see anything. It's a genuine physical blind spot. So what does your brain do? This is the amazing part. It doesn't just leave a blank space. It actively fills it in. It's like the content-aware fill tool in Photoshop. It looks at the surrounding area, the colors, the patterns, the textures, and just paints right over the hole, creating this perfectly seamless picture. The only reason you don't see the hole is because your brain is an incredible VFX artist. So let's recap. Your brain ignores things, it deletes things, and it straight up invents things. How does this all fit together? Well, it all points to one of the biggest ideas in modern neuroscience, the theory that your brain is, at its core, a prediction machine. This idea, called predictive processing, totally flips our old understanding of perception on its head. The old idea was that information comes in through our senses, and the brain figures it out. This new theory says, nope. The brain is constantly making its best guess about what's out in the world based on everything it's learned before. The signals from your eyes and ears, they're not the whole story. They're just used to check the brain's work and correct any errors in its prediction. And this brings us right back to our blind spot. The leading theory for how we fill that gap is a perfect example of this predictive brain in action. It's called active completion. Brain scans actually show that the neurons that should be getting signals from the blind spot don't just shut up. They actively fire. They're essentially hallucinating the missing piece based on the brain's top-down prediction of what it thinks should be there. Neuroscientist Anil Seth put it perfectly with this quote. He says, "Perception is a generative act." I love that. It's not passive, it's active. It's your brain's best guess. What you see isn't just what's out there, it's a kind of conspiracy between what your brain expects to see and what it's actually seeing. So, here's the bottom line, the main takeaway from all of this. The director inside your head isn't aiming for a perfectly accurate documentary. It's not trying to win an Oscar for realism. Its only goal is to keep you alive. The reality it builds for you isn't designed for 100% accuracy. It's designed to be a useful model of the world, one that helps you survive, navigate your environment, and not walk into traffic. And that leaves us with one final, truly mind-bending question to chew on. If the world you experience every day is just an elaborate construction, a heavily edited film produced inside your skull, what does the raw, unedited footage of reality actually look like?